after many unsuccessful hours. Many hours standing on the platform, doing nothing, and just waiting and waiting and coming back down, killing some drowns, going back up, waiting some more hours, and killing drowned. I'll tell you what, this farm was really easy to build. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But the sad truth is, unfortunately, that this thing doesn't work out all that well. You see, it's not all bad news. The fact is that, well, I finally got a trident. That's right, I finally got a trident. Do you know how long that took? 7 hours of AFK. Wait, hold on 1 second. 7 hours of AFKing. That's right, 7 hours of hour intervals of letting drowns come down, going back down again, killing them, and then going back up and waiting some more. 7 hours and 1 trident. Would you call that a success? I wouldn't. Although I got 22 Nautilus shells, which is, I guess, you know, maybe useful for something. But 1 trident, really? I needed like 3. I need at least 3. But okay, 1 will unfortunately have to do. So we're sticking to 1. Also, some weird thing happened where the boats and the chicken exploded, and then the boat disappeared, and then the tridents, I mean, the drown went somewhere. It was very strange, and I was confused, and I was kind of upset. But luckily it happened at the time when I finally got my first trident. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and grab the trident. We're gonna go grab some enchantments for it, and yeah, we're gonna finally consider this as done. Like, we're gonna finally have a trident. You can see the durability is basically 0 at this point, which means 1 or 2 hits and this thing is done. So we're gonna have to go grab some Unbreaking 3. We're gonna grab some Mending for this, and then I'm gonna see what the best enchantments to whack onto this are. Unfortunately, I don't really have too many trident enchantments with my villager trading, so I'm hoping there are some books lying around that I got a little while ago from AFK fishing that hopefully I can make itself useful, but we'll see about that. I know that was a bit of a weird way to start the episode off, but you guys needed to know these trident farms, they're great, but if you're going to build one, maybe go for the river biome one, because it'll probably be a bit more useful if you ask me. But hey, we're not going to complain too much. We now have a fully functioning trident. I've gone ahead and done some enchanting on it, so now we're fully up, ready to go. Well, we're actually missing 1 enchantment. I can't remember which one it is, but we're pretty much there. We got Mending, Channeling, Loyalty, Unbreaking. We've got everything going on here. So as far as the trident situation is concerned, we are doing good. But during that time, I was, you know, obviously enchanting the trident, and I kind of realized that my vending machine is pretty much out of all the important books. So things like Mending is empty, and Breaking is empty, Protection is getting empty, Silk Touch is empty. So a lot of these good enchantments are all empty. So I'm gonna have to do some restocking. So I'm gonna have to go, you know, do some trading with these guys, get the stock refilled, and then that should last me quite some time. I think a good idea would be to increase storage and just trade a lot more books in one go. But that got me kind of thinking about this whole vending machine here. Vending machine's cool and whatnot, but number 1, behind it, it kind of doesn't have any design, so it looks kind of weird. And number 2, it's right next to the trading hall, so if I really am in the area and I need a book, I can just go and get one from the villagers. So it doesn't really make too much sense me having this vending machine right here. And there was actually a new location that I kind of thought about a few weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago, when I first started building this place. And I was thinking maybe to move the vending machine inside into the main storage place here. Considering this is where we end up spending most of our time, it's probably best to put the whole thing in here and maybe make it a part of the map room. Plus, there's so much space in here, I can add in like a bit more storage for it. I can add a bit more functionality and stuff around here, so I think that might be a good idea. I don't know, I'm gonna have a little think about it. I'm also thinking about maybe getting a bottle of enchanting station kind of around here as well, or I might even put a mega smelter in here where I just basically have a furnace running to kind of like do a little bit of enchanting with. I'm not too sure, but that might be the subject of today's episode. I've also got to make a pork chop farm, which you probably saw in the title at this point, so that will be later on. But I thought we'll do a little bit of house maintenance before we get started on that. Okay, the move has been done. Sadly, it doesn't look all that great. I had to kind of substitute a bit of the looks for some functionality. Mainly the reloading sections for the books. This kind of just makes reloading everything just a little bit easier. I don't need to go around behind stuff to try and fix it. And also this whole thing is kind of in the way, so me trying to like make pillars and stuff on the side doesn't really work, and I can't actually push it back anymore because the width limit has been kind of reached at this point, so it's not gonna work so well. So update on the plan. We're going to copy something very similar like this on this side here, and the reason for that is that number one is symmetry, obviously, and just to fill out this area, otherwise it's going to look kind of weird. It doesn't have to be an entire like slab section like this, but we can put a little something over here just to bring it out, and then try and align it with the side of this, so when you walk in things kind of add up a little bit. In fact, this might actually be a perfect opportunity to make a mega smelter here, or like an XP farm over here. That could work out really well. That might be a good idea, because I was kind of looking for something where I don't have to go to the nether to get like just a small amount of XP. Here's the two options I have. Option number one is the little smelter system where I'm just getting a whole bunch of XP. Things can just smelt when I'm around the island and stuff. And then I have a little backup, and then basically it would turn off once I'm done smelting stuff. So that's always a good idea, but I'm not too sure. It might cause a little bit too much lag and stuff. So that's option number one, which I'll think about. Option number two is to double up on this section here and maybe add a armor equipping station, or just a general tool storage where I can have a bunch of swords and stuff like that, or just kind of in like a nice little neat chest where I can kind of like easy replace kind of stuff. So that might be a couple of things to consider. So I will maybe scratch my head a little bit and we'll be back. And just so you're aware, again, this whole system works exactly like it did outside. I'll hit the button, any books that I want will end up in this shulker box here, and then that's it. I can press the button to release the shulker box, and then it will come through into the system. And obviously I still need to refill like the dispenser, so it will replace shulker boxes. I'll also need a system to refill the dispenser as well. Nothing I'm too worried about. We'll figure that out. Don't worry if you think it looks a little bit ugly or weird. It's going to probably change. I'm probably going to remove the black slabs because they don't really go with anything else around here. So it might be quartz slabs and stuff that I need to replace it with. We'll see. Okay, so we decided that we're going to take a little break from that little room. When your creativity runs out from a project, the best thing to do is probably stand away from it and try something else, and then maybe when you come back to it, you'll have a bit more luck, because sometimes when you stay too focused on something, it just doesn't make any sense. So we're going to start making sense of something else, and we're going to start off with the Hogland Farm. So the Hogland Farm is one I've already designed. It's a pretty straightforward kind of design. We'll go into a little bit more, maybe a little bit later on once I've built it, but I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys just a little something of what's going on over here. In order to get the Hogland Farm working, I'm going to need a bunch of these warped funguses. Now I've got like maybe 10 or 15 of them, but I just never really like bothered getting any in the first place. So we just set this little system up so we can try and do something. I've set up a little composter so we can get rid of any of the extra stuff. And essentially this design is actually quite similar to the flower farm that I've got in my world. It kind of runs on a system where bone meal is being pushed underneath. You can probably see right there from that dispenser. So the dispenser is shooting into this warp nylium, and then it will start generating a whole bunch of crops, and then when it gets pushed, it's going to end up breaking those crops off. Simple design. I'll go ahead and turn it on so we can have a little look, and then I can just kind of walk around over here and grab all the little pieces that are breaking off. Unfortunately, one side has gotten unnyliumed, which we can kind of sort out, no problem. The system actually needs to end up pushing this whole system this way. Alternatively, I could just break these blocks because they're not all that important. Excuse me, sir, I'm explaining something in a video. Very rude. Anyway, I can just go around grabbing all this stuff and then hopefully turn that off now. Excuse me. I should have a good amount so far. So we got it didn't take very long in that case. It's going to go ahead and compost all of this stuff. That'll be recycled as bone meal, and in fact I'll chuck that in there too. But yeah, you can see in that short time we got about a stack and a half, and that should be enough to get the Hogland farm going. I've got some other things I need to grab, so we're going to grab a shulker box of netherrack, because I never keep netherrack, which I always wonder about afterwards as well. I'm like, hey, I should definitely keep some netherrack. It might come in handy, and then I don't, and then I regret it. In addition to netherrack, we're going to need a few torches, probably about 2 or 3 stacks worth. And I think that's mostly the farm. The rest of the stuff, we're going to need some redstone for the storage and stuff, but that shouldn't be a problem because we've got a shulker box full of all the stuff that we're going to need to help us out. So that's all good. So let me gather some resources and I will be back in a minute. Alright, so the resources have been gathered and we are good to go. This is pretty much everything we need, plus some stuff in my ender chests as well. But that's always in there anyway, so we just got all the extra bits. And that's pretty much all we're going to need to get things started off. The next thing to do is to head in a direction with a crimson forest biome, one or the other. But there is luckily a nice little road here that goes through many different biomes, all on the way to the Wither Skeleton Farm and conveniently placed with an ice road as well. So I think the best thing to do is to follow this path until we get to a crimson forest. Now, I did find one in creative that was kind of similar, but I've forgotten where it is now. I'm sure we're going to end up in the same place eventually anyway. So let's see how we go. It's not that far. I think it's only about 500 or 600 blocks, which on this ice road shouldn't be too bad anyway. So let's have a little look at where we are. Okay, 500 blocks was a lie. However, as I said that was wrong. It wasn't, well, it was a lie because we're 1,000 blocks in, but we're already here. And with the rail system, so at least I got this far in the rail system before I completely gave up with it. I should maybe continue this on now, because as we get further down, this is no longer powered rails anymore. It's all ice roads. To be honest, I don't know why there's any powered rails here in the first place, but it is what it is. I put it there. I was interested in doing it at the time, but now I'm confused. Anyway, so this is all crimson forest, which makes me wonder whether I should build this a little bit earlier in. Okay, so how far does this crimson forest go? That's nether waste. Okay, so this is all crimson forest, which means this is all good. This is all good land, and I actually don't need that much room to make a really efficient farm. So the farm that I've built up in creative that I just did a little bit of testing on is using the same principles that most people usually use in that kind of farm, which is just you use the warp fungus to push them into one central location. We got some trapdoors going on to let them fool them into falling into a center, into like a middle area. And then what I do is I place slabs down with lava on top of it, and then that will burn them and it will cook the pork chops. So we get cooked pork chops from this, and then we're going to have leather as well. Leather I don't need too much of because we get it through our piglin bartering farm, and we get more from there than I generally probably ever am going to need. But I'm not going to be wasteful. I'm not going to waste all that leather. We're going to keep some of it. But without further ado, let's get into building this thing. Well, isn't it beautiful? Look how beautiful it is, guys. Look at it. In all of its glowing glory, it looks great. All right, admittedly, it's just kind of a square with some lava and hoppers going into it. But hey, it may not look that great, but its functionality, well, oh, that wasn't a great example. That was a bit of a fail. But the final product, we've got pork chops. We've got loads of them. And actually, this was like maybe like a couple minutes of AFKing, I think it was, like maybe like 5 or so minutes. I've also got a shulker box with some of this food as well, so there was actually quite a bit more in here. But yeah, the system's done. Now you can see I've probably made a bit of a redstone, I don't know what you would call it, maybe a faux pas or some, you know, I didn't really follow redstone rules with this. I didn't put any item filters or shulker loaders and all that kind of stuff. The ultimate decision came down to not waste time on doing it with this, really. And it was for a couple reasons. Actually, there was only really one reason, and that was that I didn't have the energy to put one of those nether-based loading systems with the piston pushings and all that kind of stuff. If you know my series, I've done enough of those, you know, either through the Hoglin farm or with the skeleton farm. At this point, I'm kind of done with piston pushers. So we're just sticking to standard storage at this point. It's going to be normal. Everything comes into these chests, and I'll just take out the food and the leather as I need it. But yeah, everything's looking very cool. You can see I ended up going for the Crimson Nylium instead of just like random blocks. I kind of wanted to have some, like, you know, some sort of like affiliation with the biome and stuff. So I thought, why not just take the extra 5 or 10 minutes it took to burn mill the whole floor, and now we've got lovely Nylium here. So I'll show you if I can see things working. So this is a cooked pork chop farm, so we don't need to actually cook it because it gets burned up by the lava, and then the items get sucked up via the hoppers underneath. So let me just quickly get up here on the AFK spot, and you can already see from there that there is a bunch of piglins all running into the lava. They're all getting killed off fairly quickly. Lava's a pretty good way to kill these guys off and still get the cooked pork chops and stuff too. So what we can do, if I use the Tweakeroo mod to go into spectator, go ahead and have a little look down further down here so we can get a better idea of what's going on. So you can see the piglins are running away from the mushrooms, the fungi. They all fall down the center thinking they can walk on the trapdoors, and then they're basically cooked. All of their drops are dropped out on top of these slabs here and then quickly sucked up by the hoppers, and then end up in our little storage area. You can see I haven't put any walls and stuff around it. As of right now, I've tested it quite some time in creative, and they don't seem to ever fall off of the sides. They always seem to go towards the trapdoors. So I just saved myself a couple bits of material and some extra building time by not doing that, and it seems to have worked out completely fine. But yeah, you can see from all of this things working pretty spectacularly, if I'm honest. I don't really need any extra like fancy bits around it. It does its job. It gives me cooked food. I can quickly come here and grab it, and we're happy. So I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm gonna do a quick little AFK session. So let's AFK for about 10 minutes. We had a little look about what was in there beforehand. So let's do 10 minutes of AFKing, and then I'll be back. Oh yeah, I can smell them cooked pork chops from here. Oops, wrong button. Okay, let's have a little reveal after our 10, probably 11-minute AFK session. And ooh, look at all them pork chops. Wow, that's I mean, that's a pretty good amount of pork chops. Let's just say over the 3 chests that you see here, there was roughly around you know, 1.5 sections. So we got, you know, almost an entire double chest of cooked pork chops in that time, and some leather. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this as a successful little mission. We're gonna leave it, obviously we're gonna leave it here. Maybe one day I'll come back for a nice little design touch up or to increase the rates. But to be very honest with you, my objective is probably gonna be to AFK at this thing for 1 or 2 hours. By the looks of it, I probably won't even need to do that. Maybe an hour should do the job, and then I should have enough cooked pork chops to last me quite some time, I think. So I don't think I'll be coming back here back and forth here, at least. not very often. But I'll probably be going past it quite a few times to go to the With Skeleton Farm. But yeah, as of right now, we're ticking this off as a big old done. And yeah, we're moving on from this project now. Now, I didn't go into as much detail with this farm as I usually like to. Well, more so recently, I guess. Wasn't too explanatory in my earlier days. But I didn't really want to get into the bogged down details of it, because actually that's something of a starter farm now. If you started playing 1.16, you know, in a new world, then that kind of farm would have probably been a starter farm for you. So, you know, the concept is pretty basic, and I think I've run through the main parts of the details. So why sit here and explain too much more? Instead, I thought, why bore you with that? Let's go ahead and end the episode here. I have done a crazy amount of work at the time of me filming this. The next episode is going to be a good one. I promise you. We've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. Some interesting design choices I made again. And somehow we always end up on this nether roof, by the way. So it's a bit of a tangent from what I was just talking about. But I just noticed that we always end up on this nether roof. But anyway, I'm going to wrap the episode up. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. And I'm probably going to see you on the next one. I better see you on the next one. Bye-bye.